prices record biggest single-day drop since Gulf War following OPEC's failure to reach a deal. Impact spreads to equities. Africa's senior policymakers converge on Abuja to chart a viable course for agriculture as a tool for economic growth. Gas supply responsible for national blackout. 16 gencos affected. This is Business Express reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital, and I am Benny Adams, your guide. Crude oil prices record its biggest single-day drop, losing 31.5% on Sunday in a type of fall that only occurred on January 17, 1991, after the Gulf War began. As of 7:30 a.m. on Monday, Brent crude, which is the global benchmark for crude oil, was trading at $33.40 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate was trading at $29.91. The fall steeped after Saudi Arabia, the world's largest crude oil producer, sent a notification to the customers that it would begin to offer discounts on every barrel of crude oil bought following failure by OPEC Plus at the weekend to reach a deal. The federal government has approved payment of second tranche of 108.52 billion naira for 384 billion naira subsidy debts to fuel marketers, bringing the total payment to about 90%. Adetunji Oyebamiji, chairman of the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, MOMAN, confirmed in Lagos at the weekend that the payment will be done through promissory notes. Energy prices was hit as commodities react to price wars and coronavirus. Well, Nigerian stocks were able to eke out marginal increase on the week as the buzz demutualized. Able has an update for the week ended Friday the 6th of March.
This market on the Nigerian Stock Exchange for week ended 6th of March was bullish. The NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization appreciated by 0.24% and 0.27% to close the week at 26,279.61 and 13.6 trillion naira. All other indices finished higher, with the exception of NSE Main Board, NSE Pension, NSE Africa Dividend, NSE Mary Growth, NSE Consumer Goods, NSE Lotus, and NSE Industrial Goods indices, while the NSE ASEM index closed flat at a turnover of 1.8 billion shares worth 26 billion naira in 23,494 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 1.3 billion shares valued at 16.9 billion naira. These services followed with 98.5 million shares worth 263.8 million naira in 369 deals. The third place was the ICT industry with a turnover of 89.7 million shares worth 598 million naira in 800 deals. The top three equities were Guarantee Trust Bank PLC, Zenith Bank PLC, and United Bank for Africa PLC. They jointly accounted for 784.4 million shares worth 14.6 billion naira in 9,337 deals. A total of 8,193 units of exchange traded product ETPs valued at 68.4 million naira were traded in the week in 11 deals, as well as a total of 61,750 units of federal government bonds valued at 69.9 million naira, traded in the week in 27 deals. The price movement chart saw 36 equities appreciated in price during the week, 25 equities depreciated in price, while 102 equities remained unchanged.
Meanwhile, global stocks have been affected by energy and coronavirus concerns. Jane Ukuku has also been monitoring the markets outside Nigeria.
On the global scene, stock futures tumbled on Monday, March 9, 2020. Investors continue to seek safer assets amid additional fears that the coronavirus will disrupt global supply chains and tip the economy into a recession, while a shocking extreme oil price war added to the anxiety. Shares in Asia depreciated, with major markets across the region seeing significant losses. The Nikkei was down 5.07% to close at 19,698.76. Shanghai Composite 3.01% and Hang Seng Index 4.23% to close at 25,040.46. Stocks in the United States also saw sudden declines as oil prices plunged after OPEC failed to strike a deal with its allies on production cuts. Dow Jones dropped 0.98%, S&P 500 1.71%, and Nasdaq to close at 8,575.62. European markets were bearish in its deals. DAX fell 5.72%, FTSE 100 6.02%, and CAC 40 6.47%. In Africa, the markets were mostly red. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 dropped 5.37%, Nairobi's All Share 0.27%, Tunisia's Tun Index 0.41%, while Namibia's overall index was slightly positive with 0.79%, and Ghana's JSE Composite was flat.
A meeting to reposition the African continent for better integration and economic growth is underway in Abuja, where African ministers and central bank governors are brainstorming on using agriculture as a tool for growth. Chimobi Walter Naji reports that the theme of the meeting is agriculture and food policies for better nutrition outcomes in Africa. That will come in our subsequent bulletin. We are talking International Women's Day 2020 on Business Express today. And Christy Adejo, President of Business and Professional Women, joins us to look at women and the quest for professional equality. It's a pleasure having you on Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Well, women are said to be the majority in the informal sector of our economy. You are also a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management. How will you access their contribution and how would you rate their value if formalized?
Well, without mincing words, thank you anyway for that question and for the privilege to be here. But I think unarguably, women form the bulk of the operators in the non-formal sector. And this is across all the subsectors in that sector. If you're talking of agriculture, if you're talking about petty trading, what we call petty trading, if you're talking of some of the services Women have even gone into such otherwise male enclaves like artisanal mining. So you can't but agree that the women form the bulk. In terms of the value that they bring to it, the natural resilience of a woman, and this is not something that most men would argue about. A woman's resilience makes her stay on the job, on whatever she's doing, long after it had even become profitable to do so. So sometimes some of the vagaries of doing business in this informal sector, a woman is better able to manage it. And we've seen that in Nigeria, yes. The women are the ones making the economy stay afloat.
With this all-important role the women play in development of the economy, it is believed in many cultures that women don't get to support themselves as they should. What's your thought on that? More so that the country is grappling with revenue generation and women are at the key center of it. Don't you think they should get to support themselves much more than they are doing? That is, if it is true, that they don't get to support themselves as they should.
I like the fact that you said if it is true, because that qualifies what I was going to say. I think basically that's a myth. It's a fallacy that it's been initiated and engendered by certain people who are probably worried about the rising profile of women across board, I would say. It isn't true that women don't support women. I'll take my personal example. I belong to several women's groups, professionally, trade groups, even sporting groups. And I see that women are really the bulwark of support for other women. I think whoever said that years ago still want to maintain that position because they feel that the women's prominence is beginning to be a threat. But it shouldn't be. When we talk gender equality, we're not talking that we want to be the men, we want to take all the men's jobs. We just want to say we want equity. So it's equitable distribution of the spaces that there are for people who have the same kind of qualifications. So it's not true that women don't support women. Women, in fact, are increasingly supporting women in trade groups, in social groups, in all kinds of things, in education.
Okay, still talking about support.
Yes.
For women, by women, support for women, by men. Do women at the professional level still suffer discrimination?
Okay, yes, I would agree to an extent, but that extent is gradually dwindling. It may be a bit negligible now, but we still have a lot of shining lights to celebrate. I'll take an example of the Nigerian Institute of Management, of which I'm a fellow. The present president is a woman. Yes.
Wow.
Mrs. Pata Nabo, and we're very proud of her. She's paid her dues. She rose through the ranks. She was at a point the registrar of the institute. She was a treasurer, and now she's a president and chairman of council. You just heard, of course, of the head of civil service.
Yes.
Okay, we've actually had good showing. The last one was a woman, and she's a woman, and so Mrs. Yemi Eson, we're proud of that. You also heard about the Court of Appeal. Yes, the Court of Appeal, and she's someone we know personally, and that's a woman who supports a woman, because I know her even in the golfing circles. So we are saying, besides these three who are very nationally known, there are quite a number of other women in some other categories across board in the different professions and businesses that I think women are doing well.
Well,
but we could do better, really.
Okay, looking at the theme of the year, each for equality, how can we relate this to the workplace, of course, productivity and all of that? Yes, you've mentioned women are trying to do what they should do even much better as it's been perceived before now. What do you think they can do more to add up to what they are supposed to do?
Okay, well, first, I'm not one who would argue that we must have a quota, tokenism, and all that. I want a woman there because she's qualified. I want her there because she has value, proven value that she can bring to the table. So in the workplace where a woman has proven herself, she has impeccable credentials, why won't she have the space to show her mettle? In a lot of places, they are discriminated against. Again, it's mundane, but we always say that the woman's job is beyond just the workplace. So there are certain things that would keep a woman from having the same time scale as a man. The workplace should recognize that. If there's a woman who has a baby, who is nursing little children, it would be nice to have facilities like a creche, for instance, near her workplace, so she can both take care of the children and take care of work. A lot of times, a lot of workplaces do not take such considerations. They may seem mundane, but essentially, the woman brings a lot of emotional intelligence to work. And that's what we advise the workplace to tap into, because that's a ready resource for increasing the bottom line of any work or any establishment.
Okay, let's talk about you in particular, most likely your experience. As a professional, have you had at any point in time had to put an extra effort to compete with a man to prove yourself?
Well, yeah, a lot of times. But it's always ended happily, because the thing with being a woman is you come in and oftentimes people underestimate you. People don't think you have the brain. Okay, sometimes they will say, oh, she's beautiful, but she may not have the brain. Oh, she's flashy, but she may not. So for me, I've always tried to prove my mettle. And I'm always pleasantly surprising them. A woman has to work twice as hard as a man, if not even more, to show that she can do this. But usually, in the spaces that I have worked, when they realize that you have what it takes, they actually respect you for it, and you get treated like one of the boys. So my personal example may not be instructive of what a lot of women go through. Some women go through all kinds of harassment at work. I haven't really gone through that. And I'm a sports person too. In the game that I play, usually... The game of golf. The game of golf, yes. I'm an avowed golfer. Okay. Initially, women were not allowed. In fact, someone had euphemistically said GOLF stands for gentlemen only, ladies forbidden. But now, the women have come in their own, and you can see what exploits they're making all over the world. In the club that I play, the the ladies section is a well-respected section, and I think we're doing well to make the club very proud of us as women. I would generally say that Nigerian men are beginning to help create that equality, but we need them to do more. So all the he for she's, those are men who support women's causes. We need them to be more, to grow in the number and also grow in the intensity of their support for women's equality.
Well, you delved into sports a bit. Sports is also big business.
Yes.
There are events you hear, it's all about the main thing, a little discrimination here and there when it comes to winning medals. Do you think that should be? And from now on, what do you advocate for?
Well, just like I said, we advocate for more inclusion even in the trophies. Because if I compete as a man, why shouldn't I have the quality of trophies or medals that the man gets? It doesn't matter if we're fewer, because one of the reasons they are dues is that the ladies are fewer. So we don't have to spend so much on trophies for them. I would think the reverse should be the case. If the ladies are fewer, you should encourage more of them by giving them probably better or the same kind of trophies. But essentially, I'd also like to talk to the ladies. A lot of ladies are lazy about sports. Some would take excuse and say, I just want to do my aerobics at home. Sports is something that you come with a lot of discipline. So the more you can succeed in the sports space, the more you would also be able to succeed in other spheres of life, yes, professional, even on the family, the home front. So I'd like to, advise women to come out. It's not enough to lay the blame on the doorsteps of men. Even the women themselves should get self-motivated.
Wow, thank you so very much, Christy Adeja, President, Business and Professional Women. Celebrating women is something we'll continue to do for a better Nigeria and better Africa.
Thank you
Well,
very much for having me.
thank you. Nigeria has recorded its first quarterly trade deficit since July 2016, as the value of its exports fell by 9.79% in the fourth quarter of 2019, while imports rose by 37.2%. The latest Foreign Trade in Goods report, released by the National Bureau of Statistics, indicates that the value of the nation's total trade rose by 10.15% to 10.12 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2019, over the value recorded in the third. A further breakdown shows that the export component dropped by 9.79% to 4.77 trillion naira, while the import component increased to 5.35 trillion naira, all against the third quarter. On that note, let's see how the naira is faring alongside other major currencies. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, says the current power outage being experienced across the country due to low gas supply to thermal power stations would last for 10 days. A statement by its General Manager, Public Affairs, Ndidi Mba, said all the thermal power plants were experiencing gas constraint, with some generating 0 megawatts. Nigerian stock market has reacted to global trends that sent the oil share index falling more than 2% at noon this Monday. At the close of business, the oil share index lost a total of 2.41% to finish at 25,647.54 points. Market capitalization ended the session at 13.365 trillion naira. Volume of trade was 185 million, valued at 1.825 billion naira in 2,690 deals. Banking stocks dominated activities led by Zenith Bank, Transcorp, and Guarantee Trust Bank followed. This is the point where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments and observations plus suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag BizX. Business Express returns Wednesday. I am Benny Adams saying keep thinking and doing business.